Hi folks, how are you? Welcome to a very special edition of LPTV. My name is Michael Lynch, and it's that time of year again. On March 29th and 30th, some of the leading plaintiffs' attorneys in the world will descend upon Caesars Palace in Las Vegas to discuss updates on some of the most major litigations going on across the country. In addition to those updates, you'll hear keynote speakers by Bobby Kennedy, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and a special comedic performance by Cedric the Entertainer. One of the issues that will be discussed in Las Vegas will be the Guidant Medtronic recall. Our speaker on that subject will be Hunter Skolnick from New York City, but here today to give us a brief update is Levin Papantonio's very own Kim Lambert. Kim, thanks for joining us today.
Certainly. How are you doing?
Kim, what is going on in regard to some of the preemption arguments that have been advanced in regard to that litigation?
Well, we've had some very favorable rulings. We got a ruling from Judge Rosenbaum in December of last year that's really going to help heat up the litigation. He denied Medtronic's motion on preemption.
Well, that's great to hear. Now, also, I know a lot of folks are concerned. What is going on with trial settings in this case?
Well, we have a July 2008 trial set in the Guidant case, and we're looking forward to heating up for that. We've got a trial team really getting started on that. Medtronic, we are also looking for a hopeful trial date the end of this year, the end of 2008.
Well, that's great news. Folks, please, I hope to see you in Las Vegas and to hear Hunter Skolnick tell us more about this litigation. In the interim, please call Kim Lambert if you have any questions concerning the Guidant Medtronic recall. Kim, thanks as always for joining me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Folks, welcome back to LPTV. My name is Michael Lynch, and we're here talking about the upcoming Mass Torts Made Perfect seminar. The keynote speaker at the upcoming Mass Torts Made Perfect seminar is none other than Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., environmental defender, of counsel to the firm Levin Papantonio, co-host with Michael Papantonio of Air America's Ring of Fire, and senior attorney at the NRDC. Also, what we'll be talking about at Mass Torts is updates on some of the most exciting litigations across the country, one of those litigations being Accutane. Our keynote speaker on Accutane will be Austin attorney Paul Smith, but here today to give us a little update as to what's going on in the litigation is Levin Papantonio attorney Jerome Tapley. Jerome, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Mike.
Now, one of the folks might know out there is that the Accutane litigation has been the subject of what's known as an MDL. Can you tell the viewers what's going on in that Accutane MDL?
That's a good question, Mike. The Accutane MDL has been ongoing for some time, and the purpose of that MDL is to put together generic discovery, to put together what is commonly referred to as a trial in the box, Mike. That discovery and that trial in the box is nearing its end, it's nearing its completion, and is scheduled to be complete in the next couple of months.
Now, Jerome, speaking of trial settings, are there any trial settings that are going to be set for this year?
That's another good question, Mike, and in fact there are. There's a trial scheduled for the summer in the MDL. There's also, more importantly and more excitingly, a trial set to begin in state court. The first GI case to go to trial will be going to trial actually on March 19th. That case will be underway while we're in Las Vegas, and I'm sure that Paul Smith will have updates throughout Mass Torts Made Perfect as to the progress of that trial.
Well, that is great, Jerome. Thanks so much. Folks, please join RFK Jr., myself, Paul Smith, and Jerome Tapley at Mass Torts Made Perfect at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas on March 29th and 30th. We look forward to seeing you there. And Jerome, once again, thanks for being on.
Thank you, Mike.
Folks, welcome back. I'm Michael Lynch, and you're tuning in to another edition of LPTV. Today we're talking about Mass Torts Made Perfect, which is going to be held at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas on March 29th and 30th, 2007. Our keynote speaker for Mass Torts Made Perfect is going to be the Reverend Al Sharpton. Reverend Al Sharpton is a Pentecostal minister, a civil rights and political activist, speaker, and actor. In 2004, Reverend Sharpton was a candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination. He's also one of the most dynamic speakers on the circuit, and we'll hope you'll join everyone in seeing his presentation. One of the things that will be discussed at Mass Torts Made Perfect, in addition to Reverend Sharpton, will be updates on some of the most exciting litigations going on today. One of those litigations being Keytech. Here today to talk about Keytech and also to present at Mass Torts Made Perfect in March is Levin Papantonio's very own Pete Kaufman. Pete, thank you so much for joining me here today.
I'm happy to be here, Mike.
Pete, if you could you give our viewers a little update on what's going on in Keytech litigation?
You know, the viewers may be familiar with this rather appalling story even by the standards of mass tort pharmaceutical litigation. Ketec is an antibiotic manufactured by the French company Sanofi Aventis, and basically the company made up the data that they say shows the drug is safe. Some of the highlights from one of the largest clinical trials is we have an investigator doing time in a prison in Florida. We had one investigator who was practicing without a license and arrested when he was threatening to kill his wife, taken from his home with cocaine found in his underwear and a loaded pistol. It really is a sad story.
Now, what type of injuries can this drug Ketec cause?
The signature injury is fulminant liver failure. My clients have presented to the ER and to their treating doctors, frankly jaundiced. In some cases, this liver failure has resolved of its own accord, but in many, it's reoccurred, and in a few select cases, liver transplantation has been necessary, and there have been deaths reported with the use of this drug.
Well, Pete, thank you very much. Please join Pete Kaufman and the Reverend Al Sharpton at Mass Torts Made Perfect. Pete, thanks again for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Mike.
Make him look bad.
Hi folks, welcome back to LPTV. My name is Michael Lynch and we're here today discussing Mass Torts Made Perfect. The seminar is going to be held on March 29th and 30th in lovely Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, and one of our special guests during the conference has been billed one of America's funniest comics, and that's Cedric the Entertainer. He's been featured on HBO's The Original Kings of Comedy, a voice on Madagascar, Big Mama's House, and most recently as a star in his new movie, codenamed The Cleaner. In addition to Cedric the Entertainer, we're also going to have updates on some of the most exciting litigations which are occurring across the country, one of which being the litigation involving the drug Fosamax. And here to talk more about Fosamax is Levin Papantonio's very own Tim O'Brien. Tim, thanks for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Tim, if you could, tell us a little bit more about what's going on in litigation involving Fosamax.
Well, I tell you, the medicine is really leading the litigation. The litigation is simply picking up the pieces as they are developed through excellent journals such as the Journal of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, as well as, oddly enough, the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research. The Journal of Bone and Mineral Research is largely a drug-funded industry rag, for want of a better term. But over the last 6 months since we last met in Las Vegas, there has been a lot of attention focused on, well, is Fosamax as good as we had thought earlier? Is it living up to its billing by Merck? And the reports that are coming out are suggesting that no, it is not as good of a drug as we thought. So there's been a lot of medical developments really over the last 6 months since we last met in Las Vegas.
That's great. Now, Tim, our viewers may not know you are in fact lead plaintiff in the MDL, which was established for Fosamax litigation. Can you tell our viewers a little bit what's going on in that MDL?
It's moving fast and furious. We have got to go from 0 to 60 in no time flat. And the judge who is presiding over the MDL, Judge Keenan, has directed us, as well as Merck, to select from a group of about 25 cases, 3 cases which will actually be tried this time 2 years from now. And I am confident to say that we will have an excellent group of cases put together, and that 2 years from now a jury in New York City will be hearing a case, Mike, about a woman who has Fosamax-induced osteonecrosis of the jaw and diagnosed by the author of this book, which is focused on Fosamax-induced osteonecrosis of the jaw. So this is an exciting time to be involved in the Fosamax litigation, and we hope we do well by our clients.
Well, it certainly sounds like it is exciting. To hear more about what's going on at Fosamax litigation and hear more from Tim, please join us at Mass Torts Made Perfect in March. Tim, thanks again for coming on.
It's my pleasure.